Now we're going to draft out the back pant. We're going to draw out the guideline. So from the paper, I'm going to give some space away from the paper. Okay, we'll be using it later. Like 1 or 1.5 inches. Okay, then at the side, I'm going to be giving out 1.5 inches space. I'll take it down to the full length of the pant. So these will serve as our guidelines, okay? So remember that on the front pattern, for the front pattern, we minus 1 inch from the measurement of the pant. That's for band, okay? So we're going to be minusing 1 inch away from the measurement, okay? So these will serve as the waist, so we don't get confused. The waistline, okay? So we're going to minus 1 inch, which is the waistband, okay? 1 inch away from the measurement. So we're going to mark 38 inches. Then 1.5 inches for sewing seam from folding. 1.5 inches for folding. Then we're going to connect. So having done that, we're going to place the crush depth, which is 11 inches. So we're also going to minus 1 inch, okay? 1 inch will be away from the waistline, rather. So mark 11 inches here and take it further and connect it. So here is the crush depth. Line. Then we'll take measurement of the hip depth. We're also going to take 1 inches away from the line, okay? Hope we're getting it right. So mark 8 inches. And we're also going to connect. So this is our hip depth. Hip depth line. Now we're going to come to the other side of the pant. That's the knee area. So we're going to take measurements of the knee area. Remember, for the front pattern, we took measurements like so. The way we took the measurements, we placed our tape rule on the crush depth line and took the remaining measurement that we have, which is 27, divided it by 2 to get the midpoint. So just place a mark here, which is 13.5 inches. So from that midpoint, we take it up by 2.5 inches. Like I told you, it varies, okay? Like I told us before, it varies. So we're going to take the measurement that we have, which is 11, and extend it. This becomes our knee line. That's from your waist to the knee, okay? That becomes our knee line. So I'm going to label knee line. Then here is a full length. Having done that, we'll come to the upper part of the trouser to take the hip circumference. Our hip circumference is 42. 42 divided by 4 will give us 10.5 inches plus 1 inch sewing seam allowance will give it 11.5 inches. So we're going to mark 11.5 inches there on the crush depth line, okay? We'll take it up to the waistline. Then we'll connect it. Here we're going to extend this line so that we can get our crush extension. So here becomes the crush length line. Okay, having done that, we'll take we'll place our tape rule at this angle. We'll take it up. We'll take it up by 2 inches. Okay, take it up by 2 inches. Then we'll come to this crush this cross length line, we divide it by 2. Okay, 11 divided by 2 will give us 5.5 inches. So we'll mark 5.5 inches here. Then on this crush length line, we'll take measurement of the 2 1/8 that we used for the front before. Remember, I said if you want to get the extension, we'll divide our tie, that's the lap. Okay, that your tie is your lap. You divide the measurements by 12. So whatever you get is what you'll be using. So we have 26 as the tie circumference, divided it by 12. We got 2.1 multiple 6. So we'll just be using 2.1. That's 2 1/8 inches. Okay, so mark it here, then half an inch. So you add half an inch to this for ease. We'll make half an inch here for ease. Then we're going to make our curve. Make sure they connect. So this is how we're going to make our curve. Then we come to the waistline. We'll take our measurements of the waist. We'll take the measurement of the waist, which is 30. 30 divided by 4 will give us 7.5 inches plus 1 inch for sewing seam allowance will give us 8.5 inches. So here we have 8.5 inches. Then we'll connect it to the hip. To the hip line with our hip curve ruler. Make sure to place your hip curve ruler very well so you can get the right curve. Having done that, we're going to come to the waist line at this area. That's the inseam area. That's the center front. Here is the center front. Okay, so we're going to take it in by 1 inch. Okay, take it in by 1 inch. From here, we're going to connect it to the midpoint of the cross length with a straight ruler. I hope we're following. So we're going to connect it with a straight ruler. Having done that, we'll revisit this area again. Let's go to the knee area. So we'll come to the tie, we'll get the midpoint. Okay, that's the grain line. We'll get the midpoint. So from this very crotch extension, the place that we marked, you minus the ease, that's the half an inch ease, we'll minus it. So we'll just take the exact measurement which we took for the crotch extension. So we'll take the measurement. We have 13 3/4. We'll take the midpoint of 13 3/4. So we'll divide it by 2. The midpoint of it is 6/7/8. So we'll mark 6/7/8. That's 6 inches. 7/8. We'll take it down to the full length of the pant. Then we'll connect it with a straight ruler. So this is what we'll be having so far. Then we'll take the circumference of the knee. The knee circumference is 18. 18 divided by 2 will give us 9 inches plus 1 inch sewing seam allowance will give us 10 inches. So from this very midpoint, that's how we're going to take our measurement. So place 5 inches here and mark 5 inches here. We should make it 10 inches for the circumference of the knee. Then we'll come to the ankle area. We have 15 as the ankle circumference, divide by 2 will give us 7.5 inches plus 1 inch sewing seam allowance, which should make it 8.5 inches. So here we'll make 4 1/4 here and 4 1/4 here to make it 8.5 inches. So we're going to connect with our straight ruler. That's the full length to the knee line. Okay, the full length line to the knee line, which is the M line, the knee line. We'll connect it with a straight ruler. Then we use our hip curve ruler to connect from the knee line to the hip line. Like I always say, know how to place your curve ruler very well, okay, so that you get the right curve, and make sure there is no sharp angle or a pointy angle here. So the other side of the hip curve ruler, make sure to connect it like so. You place it like so to connect. So this is what we'll be having so far for the back pants. Then we'll come to the upper part of the pants. Okay, that's the hip area. We'll come to this area. Then we'll minus 1 inch away from this new cross length line. Okay, we're going to minus 1 inch away from this cross length line. So this is what we're going to do. So from this angle area, we're going to take it back by 1 inch. Okay, so this is what we'll do. We'll mark 1 inch here. We'll take 1 inch here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here. Make sure that you extend the midpoint of the cross length line. Okay, so here we have 5.5 as a midpoint. Okay, so we're going to extend it. Please pay attention to this very area. It's very tricky. Okay, so take 1 inch away from it. So this becomes the new cross length line. Now we're going to use our curve ruler to connect it. Firstly, we use a straight ruler to connect it from the waist to the midpoint. Then we use the curve ruler. Let me use our multi-purpose ruler. So you see, this is what we'll be having. So we no longer need this part. Okay, we no longer need this line. Okay, so you see, now whatever we've taken away from here, we're going to add it back to the hip area. So we're going to add it back to the hip area. So we took 1 inch from here. We're going to add it to this place. 1 inch here, 1 inch. We're going to add it up to the waist line. Then we're going to use our hip curve ruler to curve it. Yeah, we're still going to connect it back to the knee line, okay? So you see, this is what we'll be having. Now we're going to add our dart allowance, which is 1 inch. So we're going to mark 1 inch on the waist because we're going to be putting the dart on the waist. That's the back pant. So connect it back to the hip. Let me extend the hip line. So you see, this is what we'll be having so far. Then we'll come to the inseam, that's the center back of the pant. We'll take it up by either ½ inch or 1 inch or 1.5 inch. Like I said in our previous video, we need to examine the buttocks of our clients, that's the back of our clients, how well they are, so that we'll know the volume to give the pants, okay, so that there will not be any discomfort when they will put on the pants. So we're going to be taking it up by 1 inch. Okay, we'll take it up by 1 inch. Then we're going to use our straight ruler to connect it with a slant line to the waist. So this is what we'll be having. Okay, so this is what we'll be having so far. That I'm going to mark the midpoint of the dart, where the dart is going to be. Okay, so you make sure to mark the midpoint. We have 9 inches here, then you mark the midpoint. You know we're using 1 inch for that intake, so you make half an inch here, then half an inch here. You take it down by 4 inches or 3.5 inches. Okay, so yeah, I'll be taking it down by 4 inches. Then I'm going to make a triangle rule. That's how we're going to get our dart when you are sewing it. So this is our dart. After we're taking the dart, what next we'll do is to come to the cross depth line. Okay, we're going to take it down by half an inch. Take it down by half an inch. Okay, so that both the front and the back will align well. Take it down by half an inch. Make sure that this line is accurate. Make sure you place the measurements so you know the shortening of it. So this is what we'll be having. This is what we'll be having, okay? So now we can boldly cut out. So we're just going to fold the allowance backward before we cut, okay? So this is the second method of how to drag down the basic pant, the front and the back pants or trouser. Please do well to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notification button for more new videos. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate. God bless you and see you in our next class. Bye.